Hey everybody, welcome back to Day 2 Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton, Canada. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels Go Longer, Quintana, HOKA One One, Forum Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premier Plus Sports, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. I am honored to have one of the legends of endurance sports. He's been announcing this sport from before I was born. Not quite. Mr. Barrie Shepley joins us. How you doing, Barrie?
I am so excited to spend some time with you, buddy, and this next few days of racing is going to be very special in the city.
You know, you would know, this has to be the biggest prize purse in Canadian triathlon history.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the half dozen biggest in the history of the sport ever, going back to the high Vs,
yes.
and, the lifetimes with the bonuses. But in terms of in Canadian dollars, it's 1.2 million Canadian.
Ooh.
So the 1 million US. It is the biggest ever. The excitement across the country. I've been getting emails and texts from people from Newfoundland to Victoria and all the provinces in between. People know who Paula Finley is and who
Lionel Sanders is
for sure. And now
Brent McMahon,
Tamara
yes.
Jewett coming up, and of course the Brownlees and all the other big names
yes.
that are here. So they're very excited. And they will be tuning in this weekend.
So you have a new book out, Chasing Greatness, Stories of Passion and Perseverance in Sport and in Life. And obviously, when you write a book, a compilation of everything, it's like this could be 8,000 pages. How did you narrow it down to what it became?
Well, you know what? That is what a job of an editor is. And it was painful as we would debate out, that story's got to go. There's a phenomenal distance runner that you have heard of, Rob Krar, who's won Western States.
Yeah.
He was a junior triathlete I coached. He's a Canadian kid.
Right.
And that story didn't end up making the book because there was only 18 chapters and it didn't fit in exactly into one of those chapters. So there's some fantastic stories. And for me, the maybe most enjoyable part was taking time to go back and track down those people and catch up with them and see what they're doing in their lives at this point, et cetera. So that was fantastic. But the challenge was to which stories make it and which don't. And really, it had one theme all the way through. It was about inspiration. So I have the story of a guy who had cancer. At 70, decides he wants to try to go to the Hawaii Ironman, and he won the Hawaii Ironman, went under 12 hours as a 70.
Really? 70-year-old?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been working with him for a decade. So, what an incredible journey to watch that guy. And the year of the Ironman, I spent more time with him than I did with my wife at training camps and whatever. I mean, he trained exactly as if he was Sebastian Kienle getting ready. We went into training camps. We went to Hawaii early, that kind of thing. So it was about you. Every one of those stories, you would see people who stepped outside of their comfort zone, who didn't just mail it in. It's important to me. We had a guy who moved to Canada from Mexico. He didn't really know the language when he came, and he was a great swimmer. And eventually, one of the big famous swims in Canada is equivalent to the English Channel, but it's 2.5 times further.
Oh my
52 kilometers.
Yeah.
18 hours. And he did this swim to raise money for immigrant families who had never had swim lessons. And there literally were young people coming to Canada who had died in open water because they really had come from a country without pools. So there's all these phenomenal stories, but it starts off the 1984 Olympic Games in your country. And there's a Canadian athlete named Alex Bauman who set the world record in the 400 IM. And I am working as a summer university student in a factory making Chrysler vans. And I go to the cafeteria to watch this race. It's only 4 minutes and 16 seconds long.
Yeah.
But men who never said boo to each other, they would sit with their lunch bucket, look down at their newspaper, suddenly are staring at this television,
the Olympics.
Excited, hugging, and I realized at that moment as a young guy how sport can be one of those things that connect people who have no other connections in their lives.
None.
And you've seen it all your life. And so it was an addiction, and I said, I need that. And I first thought maybe I will be an Olympian, and then I realized I picked the wrong parents. And so, the next 15 or 16 years was now the journey of trying to get there. And I was lucky as hell that I met a young kid in his first ever triathlon that I had set up named Simon Whitfield.
Yes.
And got the Simon's shirt on right now. I had started Kids of Steel because I was concerned as one of the chairmen in the country we had all these older people. As the United States had the same problem. At that time, there was no iron kids.
It's still the same. Yeah.
So I started Kids of Steel and went right across the country. And that first summer, this 12-year-old kid named Simon Whitfield showed up in a little town called Sharbet Lake, which was a cottage town. His neighbors had a cottage there. He does this triathlon. We spend the next 13 years of our lives on and off. And you know how that is. But when I was standing 30 feet away in Sydney from my roommate, who now is having the anthem played. I still have goosebumps right now.
Winning the gold medal in the first ever Olympics.
It was just mind-blowing, and it was all back from 16 years before in a factory, watching it on television, saying, how do I get a piece of that? And so all the way through, Les McDonald opened up doors for me to give me opportunity to do commentary around the world.
The guy creator of the ITU, yeah.
Graham Fraser, who created all of these races around the world, is in the book. Because if Graham Fraser, with his little Ontario series when it started and eventually the stuff across the country and the world, if he doesn't allow me to be an announcer at his finishing line, I don't have a place to groom the craft, and you have to get it someplace.
Always have to get it someplace. So one of the athletes that you met when he was, I think, in high school was Lionel Sanders.
Yeah.
And well documented. This is a guy who you saw the talent, but he also, I remember interviewing him once and he was talking about, I said, you got into partying, and he goes, my problem was that I had no off switch.
No.
If I got into partying or I got into running, it was all in, and I was all in on partying.
I mean, you only have to watch even Lionel to today. I mean, he does nothing that is not,
100%
to the furthest end that you can go, whether it's racing, whether it's getting the minutia. I mean, when he decided that he was going to have to learn better nutrition, literally every run and bike, he would literally weigh himself before. He would then urinate into a can, weigh that at the end, know how much dehydration he had. I mean, to the nth degree, right? So here's this high school kid. We literally lived in the same town of 2,000, no stoplight, no swimming pool. I mean, that's how small this little town is in southern Ontario. And my old high school coach, who was a chemistry teacher, became his coach in his last year or two. His name was Dale Larson. And he called me and said, I have this kid who's unique. I don't even know how to describe him. But can you help me? And by this point, I'd been the national coach for a couple of years. So I start sending workouts. I go to watch his high school championship race, and I give him some advice. And Lionel being Lionel, what does he do?
Throws it away.
Throws it away. I said, look, get top 8, top 9 for the first 2 kilometers. Start working your way through. 400
Goes
meters
off the front.
400 meters into the race, he's got 50 meters on everybody. Drags his rear end back in about 15th place, but giving guts all the way. And so we stayed in touch, but then, as you know, the hard stuff that happened in his life between depression and drugs. So I'm going through all the results, and I see Lionel Sanders, 20 years of age, Ironman Louisville. And so I track him down. I bring him up to Toronto where I live. We spent the weekend together, and I had my senior guys kind of go thumbs up, thumbs down. Do we let this guy kind of into the group? About a month later, we brought him to Tucson, Arizona. And then at the end of that block of time, I said, look, you have what I thought you had. In fact, you have more. But you need some resources, and I was worried about just the environment. So we brought him up to the Toronto area, got him into McMaster University. And from there, the rest is history. Helped him get his first sponsors. Louis Garneau was that first sponsor. We signed him the night before, 10 o'clock at night. We signed the contract, and the next day he goes out at the 70.3 Worlds in Mount Tremblant and came 4th. And people are like, I mean, he was so far behind out of the water that the women had passed him from 3 minutes behind. Like, he did not have a problem finding his bicycle.
No, it's very easy. He was like Kenny Souza finding his bike.
So it's been great following his career. I've played roles when he's needed it, but now to see that he's got a great team around him.
He does, phenomenal team.
And he and Aaron,
and he's going to be a dad.
What an exciting thing. I mean, I have a place in Tucson. He has a place just down the street. And so, we grabbed some supper together. I see him in the pool with Justin, 5 days a week. Was out for a couple of his long, hard runs. In fact, he did a 17-mile run up Mount Lemmon and passed a few of my guys who were biking. He passed them, and he's running up the mountain after doing a 100-mile bike ride. So he's phenomenal, and it's exciting to just see the depth of the talent as the ITU guys have come into this, PTO 100 distance, as the long distance guys have come down. it's always been that magical distance where, you're going to get the crossing of the short, fast guys and the long distance guys, and anything is possible on the course.
Well, and you've obviously been up here so many times watching the WTS races that are here. This is almost like an extended ITU race.
Absolutely.
3-loop swim, multiple loop bike, run, and 3 punchy little climbs on the bike each lap.
It's a fantastic city, and it's best known obviously for ice hockey and Wayne Gretzky and all that era. This weekend it might even be better known for the Pope, who's rolling.
Oh, I heard he's coming in.
Rolling into town. As I'm coming from the airport, there literally is a brand new paved lane all the way from the airport right into town.
They just
just
built it
in
for
the
the
last
Pope.
in the last 12 hours.
It's probably for Lionel.
So I sent a note out to Lionel and Paula and said you guys could win the race on the weekend and still not be on the front page with the Pope in town.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, Edmonton is a spectacular city for racing. It's been 26 straight years I've come here. World championships, all of the things that Sheila and Steven and their team have done, and they're going to be a fantastic addition to the PTO. And to get that Canadian Open off the ground, what a great start to the 2022 season in terms of what the PTO are doing.
What I love is the fact that these guys, with when you're talking 100K for first, but the other part of it is most races you do, it's 3 to 5K, maybe 3 deep or something like that.
40th, they're going down to 40.
Yeah, they're going to 40. You're getting $2,000
Yeah.
from 21st to 40th, which means that you can take every risk in the world. You got nothing. You're playing with house money.
It is fantastic, and it's really the new era. It is what we've needed, and you just take a look at all of what the PTO has done over the last couple of years, whether it's been adding in maternity resources, whether it's been bringing in more people to help in terms of the media. I mean, more stuff has happened around the world in the last 2+ years because of what they've done, and you've benefited in terms of just all these great athletes to interview.
Oh my God!
Major big road trip.
You'd be traveling all over the world. They're all one place.
And that's really what we've always wanted, right? The frustration is in the old days, one great athlete would go to Lake Placid, somebody would go over to California, somebody would go to Florida. You only see them in Hawaii, and if a bad day happened, you really didn't get that head-to-head. We're going to see 3 or 4 times that type of racing this year. And that's exactly what you want. You want head-to-head, see in 3 more weeks, see in 3 more weeks.
Well, you think about the other sports. When you go to the French Open or you go to Wimbledon or you go to the Masters, the very best are there, going head-to-head. And so if one guy's not having a good day, someone is.
Yeah.
So now we have that. We have that here, and you've got Lionel and Paula, and there's a lot of Canadians who will benefit from this being a hometown race.
And absolutely, Paula got into the sport because she was watching it as a young teenager when it was a World Cup race in her backyard.
Yep.
Carolyn Murray went to the Olympic Games. She was here. Stephen Daniels has won 2 medals at the Paralympic Games. He lives 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So you have to give kids that opportunity, and it's fantastic. And I talk about that in the book. You see what the Brownlees were able to do racing in London. You see what the great people are able to do when Javier Gomez is racing in Ponte Verde.
Yep.
When we go to Australia and the Aussies are racing in Mooloolaba or wherever the case may be, the Germans when we're in Hamburg. There's something special about having grandparents and your coach from high school, et cetera. And there's a whole chapter in the book about home course advantage. Over 50% of Simon Whitfield's wins came in Canada. He won Vancouver World Cup. He won the Toronto World Cup. He won Newfoundland. Go down the list over the years. And the opportunity to race at home is special. And so, these kids will all get their chance when they're racing in their part of the world, and then you got to kind of get on the airplane and fly over and, maybe be on jet lag. It's not necessarily your benefit. But it was wonderful in the book looking back and thinking about all of those wonderful athletes.
Yeah.
Now our coaches, now our announcers, the Vicky Hollands and all these people, who have moved through the sport and are still giving back either as a coach or commentator or whatever the case may be.
You can't leave the sport. It's in your blood.
It is an addiction, and the beauty for us, with the exception of a few people like a Les McDonald, the Marisols and all of those Gurgles and those kind of people are still here.
Yes,
The history is still in.
John and Judy Collins, they're still around.
Absolutely. How spectacular and wonderful that we'll be able to honor them. I'm not sure if they're going to be coming over to Slovakia, this summer, but they know the event happens. I spent some time with them, and they really appreciate that they're being recognized for what they did in the sport.
Exactly. Thank you, brother. It's always such a great opportunity to catch up with you. Love that this race is basically in your backyard. You're going to have a lot of fun calling this one.
It is going to be great. And if anyone's interested in the book, they just have to go to Amazon.
Perfect.
Chasing Greatness, Barrie Shepley, and Amazon will have it in your house in 24 hours.
Stories of passion and perseverance in sport and in life. And nobody represents that more than you do.
Thanks, Bob. It's going to be a fun weekend.
Barrie Shepley has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton. Hold on. We'll be right back.